And welcome to the budget hearing for Thursday, October 13th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, first up, we have Mr. Schleider from and I'm sorry, roll call. I apologize.
Okay. Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti. Councilwoman Riley is also absent. Councilwoman Friedman.
Present.
Councilman Burns is absent. Councilman Scanlon.
Present.
And President Strawn.
Present.
That's 4 here. Absent are Scaringi, Riley, and Burns.
All right, first up is Mr. Schleider. Tell us about your budget, please, and give us the highlights, please. So members, please open page 67, 97, and 98.
Thank you. And just a quick overview. There's little to no change to the budget. The amount for travel and training equipment, uniforms, office supplies remain the same as they were in 2021 and 2022. The only increase for 23 is the rates that were negotiated through contract negotiations for personal services. So barring a small percentage increase in salaries, there are no changes to the budget.
Questions, please? Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Chairman Scanlon, Council. I
Yeah,
never know how.
sure.
Okay. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Okay. I do have a couple of questions. First of all, so I'm looking on page 67, and I noticed that we are not putting any money toward professional services, though we have spent like a few $1,000s there in the past.
Mhm.
Can you explain why this
Yeah,
line is
professional
zeroed out?
services was a fee that we paid to a testing agency when we tested applicants to become master plumbers or master electricians in the city of Binghamton. The way that worked in the past was we would order the exam and schedule the exam. Then the applicant would reimburse us with their testing fee. That testing agency no longer offers the test, and the way it's working now is Pearson VUE, which is a national testing company, will administer and proctor an exam based on the International Code Council for those who wish to become licensed master electricians and master plumbers. The applicant now pays the fee directly to Pearson VUE, so we no longer need to retain that amount in our budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I had okay, so now I'm looking at page 97, and okay, so I noticed that there's a code inspector that's paid for through ARPA funding, and then in the regular budget there's a vacancy of the same amount. I'm wondering, going forward, once the ARPA money is no longer there, are we going to continue to fund that position, or is that going to remain vacant after the ARPA funding is no longer there?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question at this point. I can
Okay.
look into it and email you back at a future date.
Okay. And okay, I had one more question, but I don't understand the notes that I wrote.
Councilwoman Freeman,
Mhm.
just to make it clear, the 2 vacant positions, we're trying to fill those positions.
Okay, so those,
They're open and actively being recruited.
gotcha, okay. Okay, and I guess my other question was, I'm sorry, I don't understand the notes that I wrote, but I think it was under travel and training. The in-service training is, oh, I see. Okay, so under uniforms, we're budgeting for 10 positions, but under the in-service training, we're budgeting for 11 positions.
Yeah,
Is there, what's the difference there?
it's just a matter of the positions being filled and the fact that we have a little bit of a hard time with recruiting and retaining. On average, we have had about 10 individuals who are needing to be provided with personal protection equipment. So we have 10 on the uniforms. Travel and training is a little bit higher because I also, as the director, don't take advantage of uniforms, but I do have to continue the in-service training requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Schleider? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to accept page 67, 97, and 98.
Motion to accept pages 67, 97, and 98.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Mr. Schleider. I appreciate
All
it.
right, thank you. Have a great night.
Okay, let's open pages 21, 42, or 41 and 42 for Bernice Griffiths for purchasing, please. Hi, Bernice.
Hi, how are you?
Give us the overview on what's significant in your budget. Any changes, please?
I don't believe there's any significant changes or some contractual increases for 2023, but it's
Any questions for Ms. Griffiths, please, on pages 21, 41, and 42? Councilmember Friedman, are you all set on these pages?
Actually, to no one's surprise, I have a question. Just making sure that I and my constituents understand the budget as best as we can. I noticed that there was a significant increase in the overtime. Could you explain why that's doubling?
so that's for the stores keepers. Most of that is for them to cover the winter shift that we have. We run a night shift in DPW. And I want to go back to how we used to have the stores keepers 4 days a week doing overtime from 6 to 9 to cover that shift. So they have parts for the mechanics can get parts to work on vehicles.
Okay, and it wasn't like.
It wasn't like that last year. The previous purchasing agent did it a different way. And I don't think it worked out personally. I liked it the way it was before, so I want to go back to that way.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Motion to move pages 21, 41, 42.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's open pages under the general fund 33, 34 through 35, 36 through 38, 39 and 40, 71, 72, 73, 74, and page 219, please. Mr. Merkel, welcome. Thank you. Good. Just give us any big increases in your budget or just the highlights of your budget, please? Yeah. Big increases in my budget. Fuel, diesel, gasoline, food, equipment we get.
Yeah, it's green. Yeah, not close enough, I guess. So the increase of my budget is basically fuel, lubrications for the vehicles, such things like that, parts for the vehicles. It just about doubled.
Questions for Mr. Merkel, please? Take a motion to accept page 33, 34, 35, 36 through 38, 39 and 40, 71, 72, 73, 74, and page 219.
Hey, I'm sorry, can I just,
Sure.
I need just a minute. 'Cause-
That's fine. Yeah.
Thank you. You said, sorry, which pages are open right now? 33, 33, 34, 35, 36 through 38. All of, okay.
Down to 219. Down to the
30.
whole general fund.
33 through 40, and then 71 through 74, and 219.
We'll let the record show that Councilwoman Riley is here.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Chairman Scanlon. Hi, Dan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you for your patience, as
Sure.
I'm looking through my notes. Okay, so I'm looking at page 73 right now, where there's temporary services that were previously funded for $20,000, and now that budget line is zeroed out. Can you tell me
Yes.
about that, please?
Yes, that was in case we didn't have enough of our own guys to plow roads. We had some money there for to hire out. With our new snow program and night shift we have, we no longer need that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The question for Mr. Muckrow, Councilwoman Friedman, please.
Thank you, Chairman Scanlon. Okay, now I'm looking at page 219. And there is $150,000 budgeted for a bucket truck for signals. What is a bucket truck?
Yes, that's a truck we use, the men use when they go up to fix the street lighting. Our old truck is about 30 years old. We've gotten the life twice out of that truck. So this is one thing that we really need to keep our signals and our street lighting in working order.
And I have another question here. This is kind of a general question, but so there's a line for equipment and repair for the auction, but that's under requested funds. But as I understand it, if we auction off equipment, that's expected revenue, no?
What it is every year we put a placeholder in here that we auction off old equipment. Whatever money they get for that equipment goes into a line that they can buy additional equipment for.
I see. Okay,
So
so
if
this
they-
is kind of like a revenue and expenditure.
Correct. If they get $15,000 in revenue, that's all they get to add it to their expenses. If they get 40,000, they get 40,000 in expenses, depending on what revenue comes in.
Okay, but then wouldn't it theoretically zero out? Like, would it
Yes.
so then why is the placeholder here?
Just so that we're making you aware of what we're doing.
Okay, so it's it's not really requested funds.
It
then.
is. We're requesting that we can auction off the money, sell it, and then turn around and spend that money to buy additional equipment.
Okay. I get, I don't know, I'm having trouble understanding this because if it's, I understand that it's a placeholder, right? That it's, we'll see whatever we're able to get, but then if you sell a bucket truck and get $20,000, that would be revenue, which then could be used. That same $20,000 would then be used to purchase additional equipment, right?
Correct.
So then we're gaining 20,000 and then also spending 20,000.
Correct.
So then this is just literally the number,
This
20.
all occurs in the capital fund.
right?
Okay. Which is not part of this budget, doesn't necessarily have the capital fund in it
Okay.
per se. So the revenue will go in the capital fund, the expenses will go in the capital fund. That will be a wash.
Okay,
We're just estimating it to be 20,000, but we don't know what it is.
right. Yeah, no, that part I understand. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Take a motion to accept pages 33, 34, 35, 36 through 38, 39, 40, 71, 72, 73, 74, and 219. Yes, Councilmember Riley, please.
Thank you, Council, Scanlon. Again, I apologize. I'm not sure if this was already discussed. You can just tell me if it was. There's an energy monitoring contract on page 35. And it says that it expires in 2022, and the estimate of that expiring contract is the cost or the proposed budget ask. So can you tell us what this is? And if it is expiring, have we then negotiated a new contract? And are we estimating the cost of this new contract?
Right, we're in the process of renegotiating that.
Wait,
So-
I didn't hear what Lori said to you though.
I said, we're in the process of renegotiating
So
that.
what is it? What?
It's the energy monitoring contract for City Hall. It's for the heat and lighting, and they monitor to make sure that the energy is being used in the correct way. It was part of the installation of the new heating and HVAC system in the lighting 30 years ago. I think it was 30 years ago when we put it in. We've continued this contract, so they're managing how we're using energy. And that's what the contract is. The contract did expire this year, and we're in the process of renegotiating it for next year.
Okay, and this was based upon an installation from 30 years ago
I
that
believe
we're
that,
still paying over $20,000 for someone to evaluate our use.
no, it's to manage the energy use.
Okay, so someone is actively looking at our use and then
Usage.
monitoring it from afar.
Yeah.
So decreasing our use of heat if the building is empty from remotely. Is
Right.
that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this estimate here that's in the budget is an estimate because it could be 40,000.
It could be.
Right.
Right.
So what
It's an
will we
estimate.
do if the budget,
They
The
will come
contract
back, and they will come back and suggest where to transfer the money from to cover that cost.
okay, and this is based upon your experience, this is something we need?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. That concludes my question.
Any questions for Mr. Merkel, please? Yes, Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, so I'm also looking at page 35. And I'm looking at the court improvements line, and I've noticed a significant decrease from 2021 to 2022 to then 2023. Can you talk a little bit about why that's continuing to decrease?
It is because the anticipated work that we need to do up there this year. There's some projects that need to be done up there.
We
And-
get estimates from the courts of what they want done.
Okay,
And that's
and
what
so
it's based off of.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
We get estimates from the courts of what work they want to be done, and that's the number that it is from what we understand.
Okay, and is this a finite project or is this ongoing like every year?
Every year, yeah.
Okay, so this could fluctuate, this could like go up or down depending on what the court
Every year it goes
anticipate.
up and down.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Merkel, please?
Oh, I haven't.
Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you. Okay, and I was also wondering on the couple of lines above, there we're budgeting $40,000 toward building improvements. Could you tell us a little bit more about what types of improvements that money will likely go toward?
Where? What page?
Also on page 35, so I'm looking under building/equipment improvement and maintenance, and then the penultimate sub line says building improvements, $40,000.
It's basically improvements to the city hall building during the year that may pop up. We don't know what they are, but we know every year things pop up that have to be done. Or
Okay.
repairs.
Like, can you give me just like an example of what kind of building improvements?
Walking outside this one door, okay, the awning fell down. We had to repair that.
Okay,
So the repairs are for outside and inside.
Member Riley, please.
Thank you again, Councilmember Scanlon. And again, you may have already addressed this, but we talked about this before regarding the temporary services when we have snowstorm
Mhm.
and using other people to support the needs of the city.
Right.
We have not allocated money for such. Have we adjusted our labor force so much so that we will not need additional resources if we have another storm?
Correct. Since I came aboard last October, I've hired about 8 guys. And with the snow program going the way it's going, we're covered 24/7, 7 days a week. We've never had a problem. Even with the big storms, we never have a problem getting our guys in. We actually got a good CDL program going and we are training guys. We had 3 more guys get their license this month. We got plenty of CDL drivers and honestly, these guys are ready to work. Yep, they're ready to work. We won't need anybody else.
So you know where I'm going next. Overtime, because we want to make sure that we are prepared,
Right.
and that line is zeroed. It's on page 73 for snow removal.
So. Yeah, okay. Are you good?
Your page set, your overtime, we don't pay them overtime. We pay them out of the above line, 5142, 5100 personal services. There's 110,000 there. That's where they get paid out of when they work overtime for snow.
This line is only for our temporary hires. We then pay over, am
Oh.
I,
This is for snow removal
right?
and we have 2 shifts, so
Okay.
you don't have that much overtime.
Okay, okay, thank you
We're
for,
covered 24/7 and the only overtime you have is on the weekends, 2 days a week.
okay,
And they cover 12-hour shifts.
and that should be encompassed, it should be in this 110 at 51.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I motion that we accept pages 33, 34, 35, 36, 38, 39, 40, 71 through 74 and 219.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Mr. Merkel.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You
too.
too. Don't leave yet.
No, no, hold on,
Done.
hold on. Whoa,
Hold
whoa,
on.
whoa, wait. You're not out that easy yet. Hold on.
Okay, all right.
Let's open
I
page.
try.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Let's open page 118, 120 to 122, 123 through 120,
It's
Through
115 through 131
31.
and page 224.
Right.
Yeah, no, yeah, I do want, I don't know, somebody was
All
talking
those.
there. Who was talking? All right, so let's try this again. So let's open page 118, 120 through 1 31, 117, 119, 116, and 115, and 224, please.
And 118.
118 also. Yeah,
Okay.
you can go whatever order you want to, Councilmember. So give us the highlights of anything that's changed significantly, Mr. Merkel, in these lines, please.
Okay, again, the big thing with, this is the gasoline and diesel fuel, the cost, increase of cost, and lubricants. And the tipping fee for landfill, obviously went up and will go up each year. Not much else has really increased that much.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. I'm looking at page 118. Can you tell me what unallocated insurance is and why it's increasing significantly?
It's due to the insurance fund that we've already approved. The cost of that has gone up this year. So all the funds are going up a certain percentage based off of that.
So that's an external increase,
It's due
as
to
in like we
the
don't,
increase in the insurance fund being allocated back to the different funds has gone up.
okay. All right,
I have a quick question.
thank you.
Councilman Strawn, please.
Dan, in the past, it's more of a general question. I'm just curious. You had mentioned before about the possibility of putting something over off the Brandywine to stage. Have we talked any more about that to stage? I don't know if it's recycling or
Yeah,
to possibly save trips to the, I
right.
was just curious if that had gained any
Engi-
traction or,
Engineer is actually looking into, designing something for me over there,
okay,
and it might take place next year.
okay. So I think
it-
that's a good idea. I didn't think it was encapsulated, but I thought I would just mention it.
Yeah, it's a great idea not to have all those trucks go up there every day.
Okay.
Other questions from Mr. Merkel? Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. I'm wondering why it looks like actually we have never really budgeted for contingency, but again, this year, there's no money in contingency. I may have asked this question last year, but I don't remember the answer. Why is there no money in contingency?
I haven't put any money in contingency because we have a fairly healthy fund balance, and
Okay.
if we need money, that's where we could go to if we need to.
Okay, thank you.
Just quick, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like health insurance, did that have gone down significantly? What's going on with that? On page 128?
It's based off of the number of people we had in this fund when we did the budget, what we anticipate and what the cost is for the health insurance for next year.
Was it a better rates also?
Not for this, not for the team.
Not this one, okay.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Merkel? Councilmember Riley, please.
You again. I know we've talked time and time again about the undue burden on some families for the blue bag purchasing for our garbage. And we say that it usually doesn't support our tipping fees and the cost to handle garbage in the city, which we understand. But based upon this budget, we're estimating that our tipping fees will be about 815,000, whereas our revenue from the bags minus the cost would be about $1 million. So am I missing some other fees related to trash in our city?
Well, that's just tipping versus the revenue, right? Do we have all the other?
That's what I'm
all the other
asking. That was
expenses?
my question.
Well,
Am I
I'm
missing?
just,
Let
Yeah.
me try to answer that a little bit, Mr. Councilman Strong, is you got 815 in tipping fees, okay, which includes the tipping fees and the recycling fees. You have another cost of $325,000 for the bag.
Which I
Cost.
subtracted from the revenue
Okay,
when
so
I
that
said it's about a
basically-
million.
That brings you up to about 1.1,
Right.
okay? We are raising the cost of the bags. I can't remember the exact amount this year, which is going to bring the estimated bag revenue up to 1.4.
Oh,
Okay, but we're still short $500,000.
and where's that 5,000 coming? That's the question I
We're
was
taking
asking. that.
$500,000 out of appropriated fund balance of the refuse fund. And we're also transferring $2 million from property taxes to this fund to keep it afloat.
Okay, but those fees are that total then is based upon all the fees within this refuse department, not just the fee to collect trash. Right? So again, if we're going solely based on numbers, tipping versus bag revenue, we're okay, but there's obviously some other lines we're missing in the total cost.
Right, the salaries, the cost of the trucks, the fuel adds up to the difference. So if you have a total cost of roughly $4 million, okay, let's say 1.2, or say 900,000 of that is due to tipping fees, okay? So $3 million is to collect it.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Other Councilmember Freeman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. So I'm looking at page 121 and under vehicle repair. So far this year, we've spent $42,000, though we budgeted $22,000. And then again, for next year, we are, or sorry, the adjusted budget, I apologize, is $42,000. And yet again, we're budgeting.
Let me answer that, okay?
Okay,
We've expected to have garbage trucks here, okay, that have been ordered for 2 years that we haven't received yet. I don't know if you remember, we came down. Okay, so we've always anticipated having new trucks, keeping the vehicle repair lower, okay? That is not happening until we get these new vehicles, which, you know, we gotta do.
About 2 weeks, we'll get 3 new vehicles. And we have 2 more coming, 2 more garbage trucks coming in about February. So we'll have 5 brand new garbage trucks.
okay.
It'd be less breakdowns.
Thinking, crossing my fingers here.
Yeah, cross my fingers.
Councilmember Riley, please.
Okay, just
It's all the
remind,
same.
you said what?
It said it's all the same. It doesn't matter. Y'all have the same questions. It's okay. Go ahead.
Recording, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure. I hope.
Here
so.
we are. You said 500,000 is coming from the general fund to cover our overall
500,000 is coming from the refuse fund balance.
refuse fund balance. Okay, thank you.
There are questions for Mr. Merkel, please?
Motion to close pages 118, 120, 22, 123, 124, 125. Looks like there's another question. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my notes here. Okay, so I'm looking at page 129 right now. And I'm a little bit confused. So employee benefits for unfilled position, that's an expected revenue of
It's a
50,000?
negative expense is the way we put it in there that
Okay,
we anticipate not having filled positions during the year that we have every year. And we anticipate that to be 50,000.
okay. So why, I'm wondering why that's not just zeroed out then for unfilled
It's
positions.
$50,000 we don't have to take from the general fund to support the refuse fund. It's basically what it is. It's to try to do a reasonable estimate of this fund. as a
Okay,
whole. Similar to what we did at the joint sewage treatment plant where you did the 100,000.
okay. Right, okay. Um. Okay, I have another question. I don't know if I still have the floor.
Sure, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm looking at page 130, and I see that there's so these are the bond anticipation notes, and these mature in April of 2023. So that means,
A bond anticipation note is a short-term note that can be renewed over 5 years. Okay,
Right,
they
okay.
renew every year. In this case, this is one garbage truck that we bought. I don't know exactly what year this started. We owe 56,229 left on that note that will be paid in April. And the interest on it's $1,068, and that vehicle will be paid off.
okay, so that will be paid off April 17th, 2023.
Yes,
Okay,
it will not go to a long-term bond, which is the next pay. Well, there is no long-term bonds for refuse fund.
right. Okay.
Other questions for Mr. Merkel, please? All set? All right. So I'll take a motion to accept pages 118, 120 through 131, 117, 119, 116, 115, and 224.
Motion to move pages 118, 120, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 27, 128, 129, 130, 131, 117, 119, 116, 115, and 224.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's, speak up, I can't hear.
Right, did we open? I think we opened.
So
I
all,
did open to, but we can
so
reopen.
all those except 224.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, Mr. Merkel, let's open 224, please, the fee schedule. We did open it, yeah, but let's open it again. They must have a question. Yeah, we just. I'm sorry?
Yeah, up to two.
No, I just opened 224, yeah. So we're opening it right now. Yeah, yep. Questions on page 224, please.
Basically to talk about it, is this is a increase in the bag cost, whether it's a large or medium bag, that the mayor wanted to add into this budget. And as he spoke at his budget address, he understands it's a problem for the city and he wants to try to rectify it and figure it out. And if anyone has some ideas or ways to change this, he's open to suggestions. But this was to minimize the amount of impact that it would cause the general fund.
Again, any questions on page 224, please? See none, I'll make a motion to approve page 224.
Motion to approve page 224.
Any second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Merkel.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
All right, Mr. Kruger is up next. I'll take a motion to open page 159, 162, or 161 through 166, 167 through 176, and page 213 or 219 and 220. Mr. Kruger, give us the highlights of your budget. Anything that's increased significantly, please?
Good evening, esteemed members of council. Overall, the budget is held fairly steady. We have a few small decreases and a few small increases. One of the largest increases is going to be the chemical costs. That's huge. We've been struggling with that all year to maintain pace and keep it going. Chlorine right now is out of control. It's pretty much a monopoly with the Olin company that manufactures all chlorine and chlorine-based products, which includes plastics. From what I'm told, it's about 5% of chlorine production in the country is used for drinking water. The rest of it goes to plastics and other industries. And they're doing whatever they want with the price. We have a local supplier, Amrex, and he gets letters from them 2 or 3 times a week trying to find one way or another to raise the price. Nickels here, dimes there, and it's been adding up, and it's incredible. I'm at $4.25 right now for a gallon of product that I paid 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I was paying just under $1, I think 89 cents. It's something we absolutely have to have. There really is no other source that is dependable. Once in a while, other companies will attempt to come in and lowball the first couple of months. Then all of a sudden, it's either they can't supply it, which is, if we don't have chlorine, we shut down. So you can't take a risk with another company, and we're really locked in right now, waiting for these prices to find and finally a place to settle. Aluminum and our PCH 180, that is a chemical we use to settle the dirt out of the river as we bring it in. It settles everything out. This chemical binds the particles together and makes it heavier, and they sink out. And then we deal with that in another way. That's another chemical that just the constituent parts have been hard to source. We buy that out of a house in Massachusetts, Holland Chemical Company. And again, they do what they can to absorb for a little while, but we're going to see the final cost increases. It's another chemical that without, I can't treat water at all, and we shut down. So we're really just following the market on this chemical thing, and it's not a lot I can do to control it.
Question from Mr. Kruger, please. Councilmember Freeman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Doing okay. Okay, so my first question is on page 161 under the personal services. So I see there's a couple of positions that are funded partway on this line. Where's the rest of that?
Which page are you on?
I'm on
161.
161. So the dispatcher is funded, it looks like 25%.
They come
And-
from all the they're DPW dispatchers. They
Okay.
Go to DPW, water, sewer, refuse.
You'll see an
Okay.
equal portion in the sewer budget when we get to that.
Okay. Let's see, what are my other? Oh, I was wondering what the water sewer network is and why that has decreased.
That is the computer equipment at the water and sewer plant. We charge based on the number of computer users and the equipment that we need to replace over there any given year. So it does fluctuate up and down in the licensing costs.
Okay, so this is mostly licensing costs and repairs.
Licensing cost and equipment, yes.
Okay,
And if we have a year that we've already replaced all the a good share of the computers, we don't need to replace them next year.
right, okay.
Okay.
And my last question for this page, I have a lot of questions, is under professional services. I noticed that decreased as well. I don't know if that's an externally determined cost. That's the last line on page 161. That's also
Right, it's same as
Decrease.
last year, 70,000,
70,000. Oh, I was comparing to the adjusted.
the adjusted budget.
Yeah.
This can swing. We have a lot of specialized electronic equipment that constantly monitors the water. Part of this money goes to fund the hot company, which owns all these proprietary machines in water treatment. We have a service contract with them that we keep funded out of this. Actual water testing changes from year to year, depending on what mood the EPA is in and whether or not they wish to say something else is going to get us sooner rather than later. And when you're doing groundbreaking testing, the fees are astronomical. So to fill a small bottle of water and send it out for testing can cost us hundreds of dollars for each sample that has to go out. Well, that's another big fluctuation, but we're pretty much holding steady on professional services.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I was comparing it to the adjusted budget instead of the adopted budget. I can yield the floor for now if anyone else has questions.
Any council members have questions for Mr. Brewer? Councilmember Riley, please.
You again, Councilman Scanlon, I'm sorry. I do have a question on 164,
So,
and that's regarding the wastewater processing fee. In the years prior, again, we budgeted for 250,000 and we expended almost the same in terms of processing. Has something changed?
I almost don't want to answer this out of fear what I'm going to say next. The place has to, the sewage treatment plant actually has to be running and accepting sludge. When they are not operational, for whatever the reason is, I can't send that sludge. Now, I have concrete tanks at the water plant, and this sludge will fill them up. I need that same room for water to flow through and that dirt to continually drop off in that section. So during these times and during these huge price fluctuations you'll see in this budget line, we've had to call an outside service to come in and treat that for us. We are in the midst of trying to get phase 2 of a project where we will own this equipment and it will become part of our daily operation, and it will remove me from waiting for something else to explode at the sewage treatment plant. And that's a dream. It's been a dream for a lot of years to take us out of their issue completely and handle it all at the plant ourselves.
And in terms of phase 2, it's phase 2 of how many phases?
Of 2.
Of 2. So we will be solid this year where you will be able to.
As long as we have all funding and grants.
You've approved us to apply for a grant from EFC
Yeah.
recently for
Yep.
this second phase.
Okay. And
Well,
if,
we have not received that grant yet.
right. But if not, if funded, then this fiscal year, the 2023 year that we're talking about, we will be able to process our own. Well, no, it's an implementation phase too, so we won't be operational till 2024 if
Exactly.
funded.
Or longer.
So then we may need to increase this line. Because we're
No,
still dependent
no.
on, no,
It is hopeful that the plant can take his waste, okay, in minimal amounts.
Okay.
Okay. The problem is when that flooding happened in February, they have not been able to take it up until now. And I think, did they bring you back on? yet?
We're back on, we're running great, as long as, and that was phase one. We developed a system where we could give them a small amount of this, a small percentage every day. And that's something that's a lot easier for that plant and that facility to handle.
perfect.
And as
Okay.
much as Jeff hates sending it there, they hate getting it.
No, we're all one. We love sending and working as one.
You can sit in my shoes and hear it from both
Yeah.
ends.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I am looking at page 162. And I noticed that so far we have not spent anything out of our hardware software maintenance line. That we're continuing to budget $11,000 for. I don't know if there's a reason why, or if that's maybe at the end of the year. Is that why there has been no money encumbered or expended so far?
Right. If we didn't do it this year, I don't know, but next year, that's what happened.
That's for a program that Jeff wants to buy. He hasn't purchased it yet for the plant for monitoring the plant maintenance. So he hasn't gotten it purchased yet, but he does, I believe, anticipate purchasing it by the end of the year. So that's why we will need the maintenance next year. But we haven't spent it this year.
Okay, so part of this is going to be purchasing costs, and then part of it is going to be
This will
maintenance
be-
costs.
This will be the annual maintenance cost,
Right.
the subscription cost of it on an annual basis.
Okay, but, okay, so we haven't bought it
We
yet?
have not bought it yet.
So previously this has gone to other things? This
Last
line?
year is the first year we put that line in the budget. Yes, we put
I-
money to buy it in capital last year and we
And then
didn't.
haven't bought it
We have
yet?
not bought it yet, so we
and then
haven't paid the
hopefully-
subscription cost. We're hoping to have it done by the end of the year or early next year, and then we would be paying the subscription cost next year.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. So what pages are we opening still? 170. Okay.
Down to 220.
I've yielded the floor to my colleague.
You know what? We are following Robert's Rules of Order. I'm waiting to be recognized to have the floor. Yes. Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. So based upon what we just discussed about the network and new hardware software, this should then be rolled up into the other network maintenance and
The network maintenance that we use is for things that are citywide network servers and antivirus and that type of software that I pay the whole portion and then charge back water and sewer their portion. They're going to pay this bill themselves because it's only software for them. It's
It's
not software,
specialized.
it's specialized software for them.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm looking at page 165, and I was wondering if you could explain the difference between a water meter reader and a water meter reader specialist.
A water meter reader specialist wound up being a slightly different job. It started off as a water meter reader. With the advent of Munis in the system, we found places where overlapping services, redundancies, better follow-up became more of a permanent job where this person was doing all computer work. They weren't really reading meters unless something came up and we had to have them do it. And it became really a full-time job with just Munis and growing pains with that, having a 14,000 plus accounts, finding different things. Still to this day, every municipal border is they're still questioning. We still find problems with this house being missed. We assumed they had, but one municipality had it, they assumed we had it. And we've tried to clean up things like that with this position.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Scanlon, I handed out a little
Yeah.
sheet that Jeff would like to make a modification to his budget, change a position. I'll let him talk to you about it. It's actually a decrease in cost.
Do you want to read this in now or?
Might as well, and
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to modify line FX 8340.51000. Detail line is water meter reader at $20 at 20.31. From one at 42,245 to 0, moving 42,245 to FX 1990.55000 contingency. I'll read the second one. Motion to modify line FX 8340.51000 from water meter repair. That's eliminated. To 0 to water meter repair, water meter repair at $19.87. One at $41,330, moving $41,330 from FX 1990.55000 contingency.
So basically Jeff he had asked to eliminate a water meter repairer in the budget and create a meter reader, because he didn't think he would be able to find a water meter repairer. He has now been able to find a person to fill that. So he would like to fund the water meter repairer position and unfund the water meter reader position. On page 165.
$200. Yeah.
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 that'll leave roughly about $900 in the water contingency budget. There's two motions.
Take it from contingency and put it back in the other detail line.
You want to read that? Sophia? Make a motion? Do you have this, the GJ's gave you? You modifying. Oh, I'm sorry.
So motion to modify line FX 8340.1000 water meter reader at 2031 from 142,245 to 0 at $0, moving 42,245 to FX 1990.55000 contingency.
Put it all in favor now? A roll call? Can I do it without Lee here?
Councilmember Scanlon is absent.
Scourge.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
sorry, Scringy. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon. Councilman Burns is absent and President Strong.
Aye.
All right, that's 4 ayes and 3 absent, Scringy, Burns, and no, 2 absent. Scringy and Burns.
Thank you, Junior. Can you read the second one, please?
Yeah, so motion to modify line FX 8340.51000 from water meter repair at 2198 to 1 at 0 to water meter repair at 1987 at 41330, moving to 41330 from FX 1990.55000 contingency.
Second.
We have lights.
Voice vote, please.
Councilman Scringy is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilmember Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns is absent, Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strong.
Aye.
All right, that's 4 ayes, 2 absent, Scringy and Burns.
Thank you, Janine. Other question, Mr. Krueger? Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm looking at page 167, the state retirement, and so I don't know how much of this is within our control to budget, but I did notice that there was a significant decrease in that from 205,000 to $150,000. Can you talk more about that, please? Okay. That's beyond our control. Oh, okay.
Yes.
This is based on how many employees we're projecting will retire this year?
No, it's projected on the number of employees in the budget and their salaries, okay? Based off what it was before,
Okay,
times by the new retirement rates for those people.
right. Okay.
Example being, if the water department had more tier 2 people and those people have retired and we backfill them with tier 6, that rate's gonna go down.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Krueger?
No.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm looking at page 172. And I was wondering what the miscellaneous other insurance line for $40,000 might be spent on.
Not 100% positive as I'm sitting here.
Okay,
I'm gonna guess it has something to do with possibly the HRA. With the Teamsters. That were in negotiations, in the contract and. What the potential increase might be and things of that nature.
okay. Okay, thank you.
While you're still looking at it, on page 177, it's transfer to capitals. And this is things that we move the capital to assist Jeff in getting projects and minimize one-time big hits. Okay. So we look at what his inventory balance is on all these different items. The one thing that they specifically separate item this year that we did is we put $200,000 of water fund money to replace water lines. Normally, we would borrow for that. Okay, we put it in here.
Other questions, Mr. Kruger, please? Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Did we, just point of information, did we open page 177 yet? Or no?
No, we did not.
Okay, I'll save my question for one. Open that.
Any other questions, Mr. Kruger, please, on up to page 219 and 220? I'll make a motion to accept page 159 through 175, 176, 219, 220. I need a second, please.
Second.
And who made the motion?
Go ahead, Brian. We didn't get there yet, did we? Oh, okay. No, I apologize. So let's do this again, all right? Sophia's back. I'll make a motion to accept page 159 through 176.
Motion to accept pages 159, 160, 162, 163, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 169, 170, 171, 72, 73, 174, 175, and 176.
I need a second, please.
Second.
Second,
All in favor?
I
aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Mr. Kruger, let's talk about page 219 to page 219, 220, 171, 158, 160, 156, 157, and 155, please.
As far as fees go, we haven't changed anything. Water and sewer rates are gonna stay the same. One of our big purchases is gonna be a new sewer jet truck. We expect even if we order it, it's probably gonna be a year and a half before it's completed. It's tough to tell. You get different stories at different times of the day. But it is a truck that's used an incredible amount of time. Jet truck is what we use water pressure to clear sewer lines. So it's an important tool in our arsenal to keep sewer lines flowing.
This jet truck is a truck I see out pretty much every day.
Every time we can.
Okay.
Every chance we
Thanks.
get with that truck.
Thank you. Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, so I'm looking at the water rates on page 156, and I see that they're established by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. So I get, does that mean that we can or can't adjust them? I mean, that's not my actual question. That's just a curiosity. Question to the room. My actual question is, I see that the water rate for individual users is higher than the water rate for municipal users. And I would think that we would want to switch that, no? Wouldn't it be?
It's outside municipal, outside of our city bound. People on the bordering towns
Right.
that pay all taxes and everything else go to another municipality, but
Mhm.
they still receive water services or sewer services from City of Binghamton utilities. That rate is higher than the general municipal rate.
An example may be, there may be a house in the town of Binghamton that gets water, okay? They charge a higher rate than the city of Binghamton. For the-
Right, well, above, so there's inside city users, then there's outside city individual users and outside city municipal users. So that, maybe I'm misunderstanding what that means. I interpreted that as municipal, like industry or, someone.
You have three different types of users that we have here. Jeff, and if I misspeak here, straighten me out. You have people within the city of Binghamton, whether it's business, whoever, they get charged the one rate. There's individual households that we bill directly from the city. And then there's municipalities that we supply water to. I think it's Town of Dickinson is an example.
Town of Dickinson, Town of Binghamton,
That we send them and we bill them a whole amount, whatever they use on a quarterly basis. And then they bill their individual users.
Okay, so even though we're billing municipalities as a whole, we're still billing them by the first 1,000 cubic feet and then every 100 cubic feet after that, at the
Yes.
same like amount. Okay, the
We have a
same
meter,
volume.
we
I
have a
guess,
meter where
whatever.
it leaves the city of Binghamton that we track it with.
Uh-huh, okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Riley, please.
Here it is. It's working. How often are the rates reevaluated?
Every year.
Well, this says 9 of 2020.
That was the last time we changed the rates. We
Okay,
look at it every year.
you look at it every year, but then you base it based upon their recommendation. And this is the same recommendation.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Freeman, please. Oh, I thought you were. Okay. We'll wait for you. Go ahead.
Okay, actually, I do have a question. I was wondering what, I'm on page 158, what are unmetered water sales?
that'd be the only one. Yeah, everything else would need.
There's individuals that go to the water plant and fill up a truckload of water. That would be an example.
Okay, do I still have the floor?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking down here. So the water service charges, I noticed there was a decrease in the expected revenue there, but the rates are not changing. So it went from 60,000 to 40, or negative 60,000 to negative 40,000,
It's 60,000 that we anticipated to get in 2022.
right?
If you look at 21, we received 50,000 and 22 through middle of September at 22. This is for people that call into this water plant to do work for them that we charge them for.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last thing you just said?
It's people that would call into the water department. Jeff, you can give them an example of what that might be to fix something.
Okay. Basically, it's balanced off of our fee structures. things that we do above and beyond that we have a fee that we charge to the individual user. Frozen water meter because all the windows in the basement are open. There's a list of it and it gets pretty extensive, in the list of fees table. There are multiple reasons. Frozen meter fee is one of them. Somebody's taking a meter head off, things like that. If it doesn't go into theft, it's charged for a brand new meter to replace it. A lot of it's really centered around the meter, the water meters and what we have to do to recoup losses if a house is broken into, things like that.
Okay,
It's mostly things that are not our fault. Like if there's a problem with the city water lines or valves, we take care of that. But if there's something that, you know, the resident didn't do properly to maintain their water, then we're gonna charge them for it.
okay. And my last question for this page is the very last line, the fund balance for budget. So that's $200,000 that revenue was gained in 2022. Does that coordinate with that other $200,000? I'm wondering.
I don't think so.
No,
No.
okay. What was that for in
I
2022?
can't remember off the top of my head. We did during the year for something. I think it was, actually, I think it was it for chemicals or was
We
it
did
for the,
200,000.
so we did
fund
$200,000 of fund balance for
Yeah.
chemicals this year.
I remember that, okay. Okay, thank you.
Other questions on the pages I've opened up? Member Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. So, okay, now I'm looking at page 177. And I was wondering if you could tell me what CAR or CAR is that's budgeted for $35,000? The very last line under transfer to capital fund.
So it's gonna be a Ford Ranger pickup truck is what it is.
Oh, it's literally a car.
And the-
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I'll take a motion to accept pages 219, 220, 177, 158, 160, 156, 157, and 155.
I
Motion.
move that we accept 177, 158, 160, 156, 157, and 155.
Second,
219 and 220 as well? Did you
That
say
was part of it too. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Mr. Kruger, now we're on to the sewer fund. I'll make a motion to open pages 160, 183, 185 through 188, 189 through 197, 198 through 202. Give us the highlights, please, of those pages, Mr. Kruger.
So, I'm really happy to say the sewer budget is pretty solid. There's been small changes for some of the basics, fuel oil, petroleum-based products, things like that. We don't have anything really huge going up. Overtime's gone up a little bit, just from what we've seen for usage on this year. Yeah, just some real base adjustments. There's nothing too far out of line with standard daily operations.
Questions, Mr. Kruger, please. Councilmember Freeman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm currently looking at page 181 right now. And could you please explain to me the interest / subsidy for EFC bond? I'm just confused
Are
as
you on,
to
are you on page 183, maybe?
You said 181.
181,
Okay,
line
we
G.
didn't open that one yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure we're gonna.
Wait,
The only pages they opened were on the first, that page. There's
Oh.
another section of the water. Or that's on the next page.
Yes.
Sewer fund.
I'm sorry. I'll hold my question.
So I opened 183 through 202, basically, yes. You're fine. Councilmember Freeman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm looking at page 185, which is open, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. What are water services?
Make sure I know what we're talking about.
These are services that the water department, administrative type in the water department that's getting back charged to the sewer department. We don't split their time 50-50. Okay, we have a formula that based off of like Jeff's time, 50% to the water, 50% to the sewer.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I need a second.
Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, now I'm on page 187. And I wonder if you could please explain the difference between the two water WS water pump maintainers. Sorry, I don't know what that abbreviation is, but there's two listed there and they're at two different hourly rates.
Years of employment based upon the contract.
Okay. Okay, and then my other question under the personal services is the and sometimes I worry that I'm asking a question of something that I approve and then forgot about. So again, sorry, but so I'm looking at the sanitary sewer system supervisor, which is now unfunded, and the bureau chief, which is being upgraded. So is the bureau chief essentially like replacing the sanitary sewer
Yes.
system supervisor? Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'll just say it for the record, the individual that's receiving this promotion is well beyond, above and beyond his duties. He's tasked with a lot of different things. And he's never let us down. He's a true asset to the city as far as I'm concerned. He has to monitor every storm and every event. No matter what he's doing or where he is, the first time that the combined sewer overflows, discharge anything to the river, he has to be there and collecting samples. There's a lot to what he does. Yeah, that's all I can say. I can say nothing but goodness about this individual.
Other questions for the page that I've opened? Councilmember Riley.
Thank you again. Now remind me, Chuck, for our serial bonds and bands, when we've hit the maturation date and we're looking at payment of principal, we put the date on the line, correct?
Yeah.
So on page 198, we are not paying any of these off this year. Because it would say,
It's not on this page, when we're paying them off. It's another page. I don't know if it's open yet, but if you go to page in the front of the book,
okay,
yeah, 180. So you'll see the years and the payments when the due dates are. You see the years that the bonds will expire. So the first one will be done in 2029. And the first payment on that note is due on May 1st. The second one is November 1st. Usually the first payment includes a principal and interest payment. The second one is strictly interest.
thank you. Now, once before, were these combined on the same page or am I thinking of something else? Did we, with the
I think you're thinking,
maturation date?
I'm not sure. This is where we put this on here probably about 7 years ago.
Okay.
Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, so I'm looking at page 196, which is the health insurance. And there's one line for contingency for $10,000. What might that be used for?
It's just depending on what happens with the rates and things of that nature and how many how many retirees get to 65 age that go on our insurance. It's just a number to give me a little, it's not a lot of money, but it's something.
Right, okay. And so some of that might be out of our control in terms of the health insurance rates.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. And then the other one is there's a miscellaneous other line.
That's the same thing as before. I still haven't got all the final numbers from the Teamster, so
Okay.
that's for.
And those are two different, the contingency and the miscellaneous lines would be,
When I do
different-
this, I break it down so I have a different line item for each thing, so I understand where everything's coming from. Okay, as I'm calculating this.
okay,
Like I could tell you right now, I know what the over 65 insurance is. Okay, I did not know that when I was putting this budget together.
okay,
Example is it's going up basically $10 a retiree per month.
okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Riley.
Thank you again. Just for clarification, we used to get a bond book or something when we went to read. Right? Because,
Usually your first year, I give you a bond book. Okay, it's what when I do the bands every year. Okay, when it's a first year council person, I usually ask to have separate ones run for them.
and then we can see when you are renegotiating or selling, right? And it had the
It
maturity
basically-
date.
It basically lists all the financial information and all the information that we're supplying to the people that are bidding on our bonds.
Okay.
Okay.
And for some reason, I think it was because I asked for it. I got one every year because it had something similar to this, correct?
I'm not sure that it has something similar to that, but I can send you what I have. I think I have a soft copy of it.
Thank you. I knew we received something, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that band book. Now, are we approaching that time when
It's
we,
April.
in April. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Kruger, please?
I want to, Councilman Scanlon, let me go to, if you guys go to page 200, I want to make sure that you're totally aware of something here. Okay. This is our bond anticipation notes. So you see the first one is band maturity. Those are notes that we go out that Councilman Riley was just talking about every year. The next two, the 03, 03, 03, 06, those are EFC funds, okay? We still have a substantial amount of money that we owe to them, okay? I put in here no principal payment, anticipating that we're gonna get the settlement that got released probably before it should have, okay? And that is happening, okay? And you have some legislation tomorrow that I'm asking to be expedited so that we could pay off hopefully all of this 03 note by the end of the month. Okay, the 06 will probably be done before the end of the year. But it's one of the things that have reduced this, all the sewer rates for next year, not reduced them, but kept them from going up.
Other questions for Mr. Kruger, please? Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm gonna flip back a little bit to page. Wait, I'm sorry, I just lost the place. Oh, okay, I'm on page 170. Is 179 open right now? No, okay, just kidding, sorry.
While you're all looking, I'll also make another point. Sometimes people think I might be a little bit difficult on things, but if you go to page 189, this is a sewage treatment plant. That budget's going from 2.250 up to 2.5. That is all because of the $500,000 plant cost increase. Okay, even though their budget is decreasing, most of that is coming from debt. Okay, and other items. But because their share of the cost went up $500,000, we make up 50% of it. We're paying an extra 250,000 the city residents are. So when you guys wonder why I get so hard on the plant and trying to reduce their budget, this is a direct effect on it. So when you look at 2.25 million and $250,000, that is a 10% increase to the city residents. I don't know how much you guys hear about sewer and water rates, but sit in the treasurer's office for a day and you hear it all the time. And Brian could probably say he hears it too.
Councilmember Riley, please. Oh, I thought you had a question, no? Are you sure? You're good? Other questions for Mr. Kruger, please, on the pages I've opened up? I'll take a motion to accept page 183 through 202.
Motion to move pages 183, 185, 186, 187, 188, 189, 190, 191, 192, 193, 194, 195, 196, 197, 198, 199, 200, 201, and 202.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Mr. Kruger, now we're on to capital improvements, page 219, 220, 203, 181, 182, 184, 179, 180, and 178. Any significant changes within those pages, please?
Well, I just already started talking about 219 previously, with the jet truck being one of the largest purchases off of capital. Couple new vehicles that have outlived their life. We're gonna replace them. Nothing, no huge changes in what we usually request each year.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon.
Sure.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask my question I had on page 179. So I noticed that for the water rates, we differentiate between the inside city users and the outside municipal users and the outside individual users. But here, we only have one rate for inside city users and no one outside the municipal or outside the city.
So like, we don't have any outside users
Okay.
for sewer. Example being the town of Dickinson that we sell water, okay, they get billed a sewer rate from the sewer plant and they bill their people for that.
Okay, so they get billed directly from the plant instead of from the city who sets the rate based on, okay.
Other questions? Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, now I'm looking at page 180. And I was wondering if any of these bonds are required or if they're all, I guess, elective, so to speak.
Say that again.
I'm wondering if any of these bonds are required, like specifically the EFC bond.
The EFC bonds are all related to the sewage treatment plant.
Okay,
All the other bond issues are city water or city sewer projects. Okay, mostly water or sewer lines, pump stations, things of that nature.
okay, thank you.
While we're on that line, I'll just
You
make
still
it.
have the floor also. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm looking at 181 and I have two questions. So the first one is on the sewer rents. And I see that the proposed budget is roughly the same as it has been, but it seems that we've only received about half of that so far, halfway through September. Can you explain why that is?
Yes,
Okay.
the sewer rates are basically billed 4 months behind. Okay, so even though we're in the month, in this case through October, it's really only 100% through June.
Gotcha. So this is sort of as if the rate, if we were going by the calendar year through June.
What
Right.
ends up happening is the whole bill in January goes back to this year. In
Okay.
February, 75% of the bill
Oh.
goes back and so on and so forth.
Right. I see.
We increased the rates I believe it was last year, okay? And the 10.4, I believe, is a good number for this coming year because last year, the first quarter didn't get that increase.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Thank you. And my other question is, so I'm looking at the interest, I guess INT stands for interest slash subsidy for the EFC bond.
I'll try to answer that as quickly and easily for you.
Okay,
So that interest subsidy, when we do an EFC bond, they charge us a going rate, okay? And let's just say that rate's 3%, okay? The state kicks in and pays part of that interest for us, okay? It's one of the advantages of using the state to do this. So if you look at that 215D is the bond that we have, and you go back to page 180, the total interest on that bond that we're going to pay is 393,610. Okay, we have to make that payment, but then the state will turn around and give us 174,750 back.
okay. Yeah, some of these interest rates, I literally wrote yikes in my book looking at these. Okay, thank you for that explanation.
The next line you have there, benefit of refunding, is some of these projects the state has refunded for us and they can't give us that lower interest rate. They give it to us what they call benefit from refunding.
Other questions on the pages that are open up? I'll make a motion to accept pages 229, 230, 203, 181, 182, 184, 179, 180, and 178.
Motion to close pages 219, 220, 203, 181, 182, 184, 179, 180, 178.
Second, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Mr. Kruger.
Councilman Scanlon.
Yes.
Can we, before Mr. Kruger leaves, can we reopen page 155? Okay, we already passed that, but that should have been passed as amended. We made the adjustment on that position. And I don't know the exact numbers that they should be off the top of my head here, but
We'll adjust the cover page pursuant to that change of that position. So you just need to reopen the page and then pass it as amended.
Someone make a motion, please.
the contingency line should be, when we're done with it, around $915 is a quick calculation I did. And that means the line FX 8340 will decrease by that same amount.
Need a motion to reopen page 155.
I'll make a motion to reopen page 155.
Second,
Okay, 155 is back open.
I move that we accept page 155 as amended.
Second.
It's a voice vote, right? I'm checking. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you. We've been at this for an hour and a half, so let's take a 3-minute break here. We'll be right back with Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Please. Where'd our clerk go? I think she should have went down and make copies. real quick. Judy, can you come down to roll call for us, please? Thank you. Back.
Hi, sorry about that. We'll do roll call. Councilman Scaringi is still absent. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Here.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns still absent, and Councilman Scanlon
Present.
and President Strawn. That's 3 absent, Strawn, Burns, and Scaringi.
All right, let's move on to the parking ramps now with Carl Petro.
Hello, all.
Hold on one second. Let's open page 139 through 141, 142 through 145, 137, 138, 133 through 135, 136, 132, and 226 through 228. Go ahead, Carl. Thank you.
Hello. I'm sorry.
You're good. Yeah. So just highlight any parts of the budget that are significantly different than last year, please.
Okay. The what's significantly different is the management services line, page 140. They've been broken out into the individual facilities, and the total is $90,000 less than previously. Reason being mainly the fact that the Water Street garage was closed. Their credit card fees are added because credit cards are now in use for the transient parkers. And the fees exist. They didn't in the past. I believe those are the only 2 items that are really significantly different.
Carl, the reason we broke out some of these accounts is it's possible that we can reduce our debt limit for certain types of debt related with parking garages, but we have to have the expenses and the revenues for each facility in order to do that. Where a lot of our debt in the past was combined for all the different facilities. 7 Holly Street has its own debt. If I can now break out the expenses, we can exclude some of that debt from our debt limit allocation.
Questions for Mr. Petro, please. Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. My question is, okay, I'm looking at page 133, which outlines the rates for the Collier Street surface lot. And this is maybe a small detail, but I noticed that on Mondays from 2 AM to 7 AM, there's no listed rate there. Did I say that one? So what would the rate be on Monday from 2 AM to 7 AM?
I'm sorry, from 7 AM to 7 PM?
No, from 2 AM to 7
Oh,
AM,
it's $5 fee.
$5?
Yeah, if you look onward, there is a night parking fee from 2 AM to 7 AM Tuesday and Thursday. And then from 7 PM to 7 AM on Thursday through Sunday, which is actually just everything except the hours that are cited in your question for Monday through Wednesday.
I don't see where Monday is,
Chuck's taking the page up to show them.
okay.
It might be my mistake omitting Monday.
And we all know I'm a little pedantic, so the kind of thing that I drew out a chart of.
Oh, yeah, okay. The night parking fee really should say Monday through Thursday for 2 AM to 7 AM.
Okay, that makes sense. So then when we approve this page, does that have to be as amended? Okay,
Good catch.
thank you. Like I said, I am pedantic, so that's the kind of thing that I would catch.
Other questions regarding the parking ramps? And the fees?
Councilman Scanlon, on the fees, one thing that's important here, in the past, the maximum per day cost was $20 or was $10 a day.
Yep.
We upped that to $20 and it's mostly due to people that are going there for the weekend, getting on a bus, going someplace and coming back. So we capture some more money from them.
Councilmember Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. I did actually have a question about that. So the next lowest rate is $9. So how does it jump? How does that work where it jumps from $9 to $20? Is that anything over?
Someone stays for
8 hours?
Someone stays for 24 hours, they'd pay $20.
Okay. So let's say if someone stays for like 10 hours, would that be the hourly rate or that would be?
Yes, they would pay, basically, I believe it'd be $11.
Okay.
Got it quickly.
So it's basically $1 per hour up to maximum of $20.
$2 the first hour, $1 thereafter with the maximum of $20.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Other questions? I'll make a motion to accept page 139 through 141. Oh, sure. Yep. Sorry about that. Yep. I'll take a motion to amend page 133, please.
Motion to amend page 133.
Yes. The motion is going to say, so it's going to change 2 AM to 7 PM, Monday through
Monday.
Thursday, as opposed to Tuesday through Thursday. Can I have a second, please? Is it a voice vote? Brian? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's for the amendment, yeah. Yeah. Monday through Thursday. Okay, so now let's
Chuck
make,
and Lori, is that gonna make an end in the end budget? Is that gonna increase revenues, expenses, or just stay the same? Okay, very good.
so I'll take a motion to accept page 139 through 141, 142 through 145, 137, 138, 133 through 135, 336, 132, 226 through 228.
Motion to accept pages 139 to 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 137, 138, 133 to 135, 136, 132, 226 to 228.
Yes.
Motion to accept page 133 as amended.
You have a second again?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Carl. Appreciate you coming down here. Let's change this up and move to Chief Sikorsky since he's the only one who doesn't have to be here with us to the end of time. So Chief Sikorsky, you're next. I make myself laugh. All right, I make a motion to open page 49 through 59, 60, 68, 219, and 223. Chief Sikorsky, tell us any major changes to your budget here.
Well, I don't think there's any major changes. There's no vehicles. We're expecting grant money. And they're very difficult to get. We had 12 vehicles ordered, 2 since last November and the rest 10 since February. You see a lot of lines zeroed out. Some stuff we need year to year, some stuff we need every other year, every 3 years. So there's really nothing, dramatically that's been changed.
Questions for Mr. Sikorsky on the page that I've opened up? Chief Sikorsky, I should say. Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Hi, Chief, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, I'm looking on page 48 and I see there's a line for personal services that has the F0015 tag. So, those came out of ARPA. And I know that was only in 2021, but
That money that you're talking about that has a line of 553, that was a premium pay that we paid back in 21.
oh, that's what that was. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, now I'm looking at page 49 right now, and I see the field training officer pay. So we're funding 19 positions, I guess, at $2,100, but it also says that there are 19 vacancies there. Can you explain that, please?
Go
That's
ahead.
line A3120.51678.
The field training officer pay is the pay that we pay existing officers to train new recruits. So next year we have 19 vacant positions. So we need to fund 19 field training officers to work with those recruits next year. Once they
Okay,
go
so
on the line.
The 19 vacant is in reference to the positions
Positions that
that
are-
these officers who will be paid this will train
Train,
for?
yes, yeah.
Okay,
Which is contractual and required by the state.
okay, thank you.
Other questions for Chief? Councilman Freeman, Councilmember Freeman, I apologize.
Thank you. Councilwoman is fine too.
Okay.
Either way is fine with me. Okay, so now I'm looking at the equipment line on page 51. And I know I've asked about this before, but I see we're budgeting $3,000 toward AR-15 handguns. How can you tell me about like how frequently those are used, what they're typically used for? I don't, I don't
I'm not
expect you to
sure.
have specific data, but just in general,
That
like what would an
3,000
AR-15?
That's a patrol rifles. That's in every police vehicle. And that's, we're not purchasing any. That's to maintain the current ones we have. Parts, anything that needs to be armed, anything that needs any repairs or anything like that. There's an AR-15 in each patrol vehicle, which
Chief, how long are they good for?
those guns.
Yeah.
Decades.
Okay, thank you.
We have some that are 20 years old. They're starting to get old and stuff. So I say decades, probably 15, 20 years anyway.
So you say those are in each patrol car, not necessarily on each officer's person?
They're never on an officer's person unless it's on a shooting where they're responding to a shooting call, there's shots fired, something like that. And even then, most of the time not.
Okay,
But they're kept in the vehicles.
so that might be used if, like you said, there's a shots fired, maybe an active shooter, and then.
More of an active shooter than anything. We get a lot of shot fires calls. I go to them and I can't remember the last time I saw anybody with one out.
Okay,
So it's
these-
more an active shooter or there's a shooting actually taking place.
Okay, so these are not used very frequently.
They are not.
Okay. And what is the maintenance go for? Like, what is involved in maintaining
They have
Stuff
lights
like
on them. We have them in cases. They get banged around. They need new bulk. I'm not an armorer. We have several. So it's just maintenance on the guns. There's slides on them. There's certain things, they practice with them twice a year. The SWAT team has them practices with them every week. So, parts do wear out. The gun itself doesn't have to be replaced, but the parts have to be replaced in the weapon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there questions for
I don't
Chief
even know if we
Sikorsky?
have them.
Councilmember Riley, please.
Thank you. Hi, Chief Sikorsky. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I noticed on our feed that we offer a civilian gun class. How often do we offer that? And when was the last time it was offered?
We haven't offered it in a long time. At one point, the county court judge said that only we could provide that class. Somebody complained to the administrative judge and it got changed, and now there's several people that offer that class. So we do it very infrequently, on occasion, if we get enough people that want it and there's a fee.
So community members can request this of the department?
Yes, to get a permit, the county court judge requires you to take this course.
Right.
It's an absolute requirement. So if we get enough people to hold the class, makes it worth our while. We don't make any money on it, but we hold it. But it's been a long time since we've had one because now there's people all over the county that are doing it.
Okay.
At one time, it was just us.
Thank you. Now, thank you.
I have a question.
Councilmember Pressenetti, please.
Chief, I'm looking at the line for vehicle parts.
Mhm.
With the 54, almost 55 to 40, are you estimating just not having the need this year? Is that because we purchased some new vehicles?
Well, we're hoping the new vehicles come in. We're running cars right now with 180, 190,000 miles. Really, I told council before, it's really 3 times that, all the manufacturers. As I said, we have 12, we've got a few cars in this year. We have 12 ordered, 2 since last November. 10 since February. They just told us now that we jumped to the front of the list because with every other department in the country that had cars ordered because they ran out of 22s allegedly of chips. So anyway, we're waiting on those. We're expecting a grant in the near future to purchase several more. So the answer is yes, we're expecting the fleet to be, currently it's the best it's ever been, to be honest with you, in many, many years. But we're still in need of vehicles now, especially patrol vehicles. And it's not that nobody will buy them, it's just we can't get them.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Other questions? Councilmember Freeman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. I'm on page 53, and I was just wondering why the printing supplies have gone up significantly.
My pages are different than yours. I think I'm a page behind. It always is. Okay, printing, 54,103.
Mhm.
Question?
I was just wondering why that has gone up significantly. That line has been almost doubled.
Well, you going to a grocery store lately? Because we ordered parking tickets in December of 20. We just went to order the exact same amount of tickets and it literally exactly tripled for the same number of tickets. So all of this is reflective as, so we're hunting down that. We're not going to go that price. Actually, I signed the traffic that we're getting them a little cheaper than triple. Let's go out and get better prices, but everything's going up. And just a reflection, we're not adding, as a matter of fact, we cut a lot of this stuff because we either have it in stock, we don't need it, or whatever. It's just when we go out, get the prices, this is what we're being told.
Okay.
Agreement. If you look about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see a line that says handheld parking tickets, 400 at 1435. That's probably the biggest increase in that line.
That's probably what?
That's the biggest increase in that line was due to
Oh.
those numbers that Chief was just talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Chief Sikorsky? Councilmember Freeman, please. Councilmember Ressenetti, please.
They have, and it varies, it may or may not reflect what we have. We have what we have in stock. So quite frankly, we didn't need as much as we normally do because an order that we had from a year and a half ago never got sent in from the purchasing department. And we kept inquiring about it. So that was stuff that we got now that we should have got a year and a half ago. So it increased what we have on hand. So, Officer Charpinsky is a training officer. He tallies up what we need for the range, what the SWAT team needs, in-service training. And we just get what we need. So we got the bottom line is we got some extra we weren't expecting because we were short, wondering why we short. We found out, quite frankly, the PO never got sent out.
Thank you.
Other questions for Chief? Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, I'm on page 59 right now. And the second to last item, I don't know what SPEC stands for or is short for, but I'm sorry, I know I've answered my own question. So that I see that line is zeroed out. That's being moved to line A9950. Is that correct?
That's, Lori, that's a special law enforcement fund. Lori, you want to answer that? You were Chuck? That's moving the capital line, special law enforcement fund.
What this line is it's, I'll use the word buy money, okay, that every year we would budget it and they wouldn't use it. They'd use some of it. So we're putting money to capital. So if they don't use it, we don't have to fund it every year and then charge the taxpayers for that. So we'll move it once over to a capital line, and as they need it, we'll budget for it each year.
Okay, and what does SBEC stand for? Special? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Riley, please.
Thank you, Councilmember Scanlon. Just one more question, regarding the education incentive. We talked about that before. Is that for each officer that has achieved or obtained those degrees and they receive that incentive every year?
Yes,
So currently we have 25 officers that have a bachelor's degree and they get an additional 300 because they have received the bachelor's degree.
yes.
Thank you.
Other questions for Chief? I'll make a motion to accept page 48 through 55, 60, 68, 219, and 223.
Motion to move pages 48, 59, 60, 68, 219, and 223.
Need a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Lori Cliff. We'll open pages 43, 44, 220, and 32.
The biggest change in my department, you'll notice that I created an assistant IT manager position and unfunded an info tech specialist. I'm anticipating retiring in 18 months, so we want to create an assistant manager position for the transition. Once I retire, I anticipate that they will remove the assistant IT manager position at that point, but it's a transitional position to get ready for my retirement. Other than that, the changes are minimal. Obviously, hardware, software maintenance went up a bit, always does, because the vendors we deal with increase the cost. Page 32 is our records management department, which we pay for the storage of records off-site and shredding. The cost for the storage of records off-site has increased dramatically because some records we have to keep forever, so we're putting more and more in storage. And we also have to pay for all the records at the court store. So that is the large increase there.
Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Okay, so on page 32, that the record storage,
Yes.
that's billed per month?
Per month, yes.
Okay.
Based on the number of records that are stored each month and how many times we come over they have to pull records for us and refile them.
And my other question is on page 43.
Okay.
Can you talk about the responsibilities of the website and social media coordinator?
That person maintains the website and is putting together a social media plan so that we can become more
Hip?
Yes. He's putting together a plan, but he is the person who maintains the entire website now, posts all the meetings, gets the recordings all posted, the minutes all posted, makes any changes, any department requests, puts all the press releases out. And as I say, we are moving forward towards a larger social media presence. He's putting together a plan and a proposal for us. And I hope to see next year you will see much more social media presence for us.
Okay. And how long has this position existed for?
This was the first year we hired him in
year, okay.
February. You approved it in last year's budget.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you.
Other questions for Lori Cliff, please? I'll make a motion. Councilmember Freeman.
You, Councilman Scanlon. I have one last question. The technical services, did you touch on that? The technical services, that's just about
Outside,
halved from
outside
the,
consulting when we need specialists, hosting fees for different software that different vendors host for us as opposed to hosting in-house. GIS services that we pay to Broome County for GIS services. I have a miscellaneous project, if the department has a special project they want to do, and then vulnerability assessments that are done on our network, just to check any issues.
okay. So I know the amount that we're allocating in this budget is roughly the same as
Yep.
what we allocated in the 2022 budget, but we have ended up adjusting it to be about double that.
We can't carry over purchase orders that hadn't been paid off from last year. If there was an outstanding purchase order at the end of last year, it carried forward till the bill came into us and got paid. That's what the adjusted budget was.
Okay, and
Okay.
you don't foresee that happening?
No,
Again,
the
for
money
this year.
carries forward with it. If we'd already issued a purchase order for something and we just hadn't received the bill, the money carries forward and we pay it in the next year.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. I think that's all my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let's let the record show that Councilman Scaringi is now chairing the meeting. And
Yes, Councilwoman Riley, please.
Thank you. Ms. Cliff, thank you again for this. I do have a question because I noticed that under the council budget, our phones and things are not a line item.
Correct.
That is housed under your budget. Correct.
The cell phones are paid for under the purchasing budget
Oh, under
that you
the
include,
purchase.
that you approved earlier this evening.
Okay, thank you for
You're-
that clarification.
You're welcome.
Colleagues, any other questions?
Are we done? The summer, the capital on that? So
It is open. Okay. Any other questions on pages 14, 24, 25, 31, or 66?
Clerk. We didn't
No,
know for that.
43, 44.
Page
43.
32, 43, and 44. You're okay.
Right, 43, 44, 220, and 32.
Okay. Any other pages any questions on 220? Be mindful, again, we're looking at the information technological section. of that page. Any questions on that? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept pages 32, 43, 44, and the capital improvements on the section of information technology on page 220,
So moved.
Pages 32,
43,
43,
44.
44, 220, and 32.
Right.
Second.
Who's the first? Okay. Motion by Councilwoman Rosanetti, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We did. Okay, next we will move to the city council portion of the budget. At this time, I will open pages 14, 24, and 25, 31, and 66.
Page 14 first. Can you just open up page 14 now? As you
I'll-
go through it, you'll see why.
Yep, I'll retract that. At this time, I will just open page 14. That being said,
So- Page 14 is your budget, okay, which doesn't have a whole lot in there except for your salaries. And part of legislation that you had passed last year, or the year before, I'm not sure exactly what year, you get raises equal to CPI.
CPI.
When I did this budget, it was like 7.65%. So that's $805 for each of you, okay? I just wanted to make you aware that that's what you were approving. And if that's what you guys want to pass, and you want to change it now. I'm just making everyone aware in case, the public may become aware of it. I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of it.
This is a point that I brought up when we left this. So again, just like the mayor's salary, obviously, this is something that from an RL perspective has to come down with us. Do we want to entertain any discussion regarding the annual CPI increases? I had argued to take it out, but Councilman Scanlon, please.
I agree. There's no reason not to, from my standpoint, there's no reason that accept the CPI. I would agree to remove the CPI from our salary.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other discussion? That being said, Mr. Clerk, Council, that would need to be done in an RL. If this is something the body would want to entertain, correct? Okay. So would I suggest, does any other colleagues, any other thoughts, questions, comments around that?
I would agree.
Councilwoman Resonetti,
I
please.
would agree and support.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Any others? Then seeing, then not hearing any negation on it, can we get a number, Chuck, if we wanted to move that difference over to a contingency line, if that's an RL that we are going to entertain at some point soon?
Well, the RL will be something totally different, but for tonight's budget,
Right,
what you can do is change the estimated increase. It's 805. You can bring that down to 0. You can bring that down to a lower number if you wanted to. And whatever that number is would go into contingency.
correct. So if we wanted to hypothetically, if it was the consensus of the body to keep salaries the same for the next fiscal year as they are for the current fiscal year, we could just subtract that increase and move that to contingency.
Yes, and that amount would be $5,635.
5,600. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Lord. Councilwoman Friedman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Scrungy. I was just curious, for those of you who are in favor of removing it, I'm curious as to why.
Councilman Scanlon?
Yeah, just in the climate we're in, I'm not sure we need. Personally, I don't think we need any more money as far as city council people. It's not a big increase, but it's still somewhat of an increase. And I'd rather pass on that personally. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any others? Councilwoman.
I mean, it's similar to that. I agree. I mean, it's not a big increase, but based on where we're at in this, economic climate, I would personally feel more comfortable not taking that increase.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions? Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to move $5,635 from line A1010.51000 personnel services to contingency.
Excuse me, point of clarification.
Please.
Should we vote on this as a body? Should we have a vote here as far as what we want to do with this, or is it?
Correct. So good point. Right,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, yeah, yep,
it
right,
would,
yep,
right,
yep,
yeah.
yep, okay,
But
good.
it's a good point that Councilman Scanlon is raising for logistical purposes, because our fiscal year is the calendar year, and this would technically not change if it was left alone until January 1 of this year. We are essentially being proactive if we choose to do this, move the difference to contingency now, but would still have to pass an RL to formalize it. Would that be correct? Correct. Chuck or Lori, I don't know if there was any addition you wanted to add to that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We have to review the ordinance. Yeah. I'd really defer that to Brian, because I'm
Yeah,
not 100% sure. I
yeah.
mean, for the budget purposes, I think you got to make a motion to.
Right. Yes, absolutely. For the budget. Yes. That would just because then we would have to essentially go back and amend it. So it would be doing it now. So, is there a motion? Councilwoman Riley, please.
Yes, thank you. Look, I was about to call you Councilman Scanlon. Councilman Scaringi. I don't know. Again, I've always advocated for the salaries of every employee in this building, particularly after some had to work extensively during COVID, which I think as council people who are accessible to almost 24/7, because I've gotten calls at 3 a.m. I think the onus is upon the individual council person to then donate their money back. I don't know that the effort that we put forth and the time we give necessarily, again, it's not that we're doing this for compensation, but there are days when justifiably we are not being compensated for what we do. And so for a body to then decide to go against an ordinance that was set forth many years ago, whereas each person can allocate that extra funds to the charity or entity they choose, I think it's just something we need to think about.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Can I
Chuck,
make a
please.
statement? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have no opinion on this at all, okay, being blunt honest, okay? I will say the CPI of 7.65% is very high, okay? And I know that puts everybody in a bad situation, let's say most people. But one of the things that was discussed many times over the years since I've been here, mostly by former Corp Counsel Ken Frank, is his thought on this is to have council vote on it the year before the election. Okay, so I believe your election is up next year. You set it for a 4-year term.
Right.
Okay, for the next 4 years, and it's out of all your hands.
Right.
Okay,
That,
and I think that was a good thing that.
I was looking at his notes just now. Now, these notes are clearly old, but it's middle sentence. It is recommended that city council synchronize setting the salary for council members every 4-year terms before candidates for the council are announced for said terms.
Which
is
right now.
So this would be about the time that we would do this.
Right, you don't have to do it at the budget meeting, but you do it before the end of the year. Okay,
So, but what I think what Ken would say is if you were to eliminate CPI now, when you eliminate that, if I'm assuming that that goes forward, if it's eliminated in that same piece of legislation, you could also set the salaries for the term for the next 4-year term in that piece of legislation.
right,
If-
that's
if you
exactly
so
what he would have
chose.
said. He would have said, okay, eliminate that CPI and legislation this year, and I'm just making up a number for the following 4 years, 2024 to the end of that term, it would be $11,000, 11,500, or increase it somewhat every year. But it's done without the legislators having to make that decision. Okay, at this point, none of you have made a decision, I don't think, on whether you're running or not. And I think it's a cleaner transaction for everybody.
Right.
And
So-
that was Ken's opinion on it.
Yeah, that was, but again, just to get this out there, the addition of CPI on our salaries, at least from a contemporary perspective, is actually not something that's actually been codified for a very long time. That actually didn't start back until the beginning of this term. I introduced legislation to take that out, and it so I've had that stance on it for a while. If memory serves me correctly, the RL that was voted on back in 217 or 218 that said it for this term, that was default language that just got thrown in there. So, because I remember,
I do believe it was in either 16 or 17. that
yeah, it was,
adopted it.
yeah, because it was right before the reelection. Because if you remember in the last term, we were just at 7,500, and then there was an RL that kind of stepped it year over year that raised it to the level that it's currently at now. So it's actually something that's just been added on within the last few years.
So if we change it, it would be in the legislative process in the next couple months, not next budget process, because then we would already be either elected or well, we'd be right before the election then.
Yeah, so if you did legislation between this day now and the end of the year, and you set that rate for next year, and you would set it for 24 forward. In that legislation.
Right.
Okay.
We can do that, but again, I think the current discussion is, do we want to forego it for this
Right.
next fiscal year, meaning us?
Just put my 2 cents in. It's kind of related, but two different things. I think in a relative sense, you could say that the CPI is high for that, but in a total sense, I don't think that that's too much, to be honest with you. So I have to think in my mind, we're getting to an amount because of the CPI. Do I think the total amount for what we do is too high? I don't think so. So we're probably at minimum wage when you factor everything out, to be honest with you. I'm just being honest for myself. But is it my, you look at your total, other things you do and stuff like that. That's the same nice thing, same thing I said with the mayor's salary. It's not, so, but the relative change of percentage wise is that, what I'm trying to say, and in my mind, it's related, but two different things, so.
Any other, Councilwoman Freeman?
Thank you, Councilman Sternby. Councilman Strawn, I agree with you. And I think something that's nice about using the CPI is that it's a statistic where we're not saying like arbitrarily, okay, I think council members should make X number of dollars. And it is kind of a weird position to be in, to be voting on your own salary or your own raise. And we have a taboo in our society about asking for a raise or asking for more money or kind of advocating for what we are worth as workers. And like Councilwoman Riley said, I've calculated it before. Many weeks I make less than minimum wage based on how much time I put into this job. And it's a weird position to be in, to say, yeah, I'm going to give myself more money. I know that's strange. But also, yeah, we put in, or I can't speak for everyone else, but there's a lot of people who work at City Hall who I think deserve to be making more money than they do. And I'm going to be honest, I don't feel shy about saying, yeah, I put in enough time and energy into this job that I am not shy about accepting that. I'm a young professional. I don't have like a cushion of finances behind me. And so I kind of like the CPI in a way is more objective than we could be just deciding on the salary. So I would be in favor of keeping that little nugget in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? I think the general sentiment from years past with respect to the CPI increases is that, and it is right due to inflation, that the CPI is pretty excessive this year. But I mean, I know pretty much all the people I represent, their salary increased by CPI this year. So I think it's a little symbolic. But that being said, I don't want to push it to an extreme. Is there a motion to move $5,635 from line A1410.5100 to contingency? See none, we'll move forward. I will open pages 24, 25, and 31. Any discussion? Or any questions? Chuck or Lori, please feel free to, if there's anything you feel that needs to note. I will also open the floor to the Binghamton City Clerk, if he feels any discussion is relevant due to the fact that for those watching who may not know, the city clerk's office in the city of Binghamton, their budget falls under the city council's portion of the budget. So I will also open the floor to him if he has any points to.
Yes, one quick point of order. Did you want to close page 14?
I was gonna vote on it in batch because it was on the city council budget, but
Okay.
so that way we wouldn't have, yeah, that was the reason why. So
That's fine.
I did, yeah, 24, 25, 31.
Okay. So the city clerk's office budget is virtually the same as last year. No changes. You'll notice that our salaries for the clerk and deputy clerk are also unchanged. I would ask tonight that city council makes some motions to give the clerk and deputy clerk positions a 3% raise for 2023. The total for that is $34.92, which comes out to $18.90 for the clerk position and $16.02 for the deputy clerk, totaling $34.92. Chuck and I spoke earlier. It looks like he identified page 74, the street lighting, as a possible spot to move the money from. So I believe we would have to reopen page 74 if anyone is. I do not. But the first motion would be to reopen page 74.
I'll make a motion to reopen page 74.
Do I have a second? Motion by Councilwoman Friedman, seconded by Councilman Scanlon to reopen page 74. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Page 74 is reopened.
Okay. So would anyone like to make a motion to move 3492 out of the streetlights budget line and into contingency? And then from contingency, obviously, we would move it into the personal services for
To the
clerk's office.
personal service line, correct?
I'll make a motion to move $3,492 from the street lighting budget line A5182.54202 to contingency.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Lastly, thank you. Motion by Councilwoman Friedman, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this point, I will entertain a motion to move $3,492 from contingency to the personal services line on page 14, line A1010.5100. No, that is not the correct page. Page 24. Personnel services line.
I make a motion to move $3,492 from contingency to budget line A1410.51000 on page
Do I hear a
24.
second? Motion by Councilwoman Freeman, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously.
Do we
Chuck.
have, I have a question. Do we have to signify or specify the breakdown of that amount?
I was about to ask Chuck that. Do we have to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilman Scanlon, while the calculations
Did
being
we
made.
just approve the 3% increase for the clerk?
Yes,
Yes.
and the deputy clerk.
I wasn't paying attention. Can we reopen that by any chance? Or is it done?
Well, we still have to move it into the two lines, correct? But obviously it's,
So it's not a done deal yet, correct?
The page
Correct.
has not been approved as amended, no. Okay.
Well, it's time to talk about it. I'd like to talk about it.
sure.
Yes, sir.
So the amounts would be for the city clerk, 64,895.50. And the deputy clerk, $54,990.67.
What was the deputy one more time, Chuck, please?
$54,990.67.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilman Scanlon.
I have a problem with the 3% increase, and here's why. I have nothing against Lee and Janine and the job they do. But if we're giving our police officers 2.25%, I don't want to certainly give a 3% raise to the city clerk. Matter of fact, I'd advocate for a 2% raise to keep below the police officers. Number of 2.25. Thank you.
Any other, Councilwoman Craven?
Thank you, Councilman Skirnji. I'm going to respectfully disagree with my colleague, Councilman Scanlon, only because I don't think it's necessarily helpful to use the police as a benchmark for every other city employee. And even if we were to do that, the city clerk and the deputy city clerk are still making less than most police officers. And I was, I'm happy to advocate on the behalf of the city clerk. Lee and I were speaking on the phone, and he gave me some statistics that the clerk's office is making less than most other department heads, and also less than other comparable cities to us, like Schenectady and Troy. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot of people in City Hall who I feel like should be making more money than they are. So I am I stand by the motion to give them a raise that I do feel like they deserve. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilman Scanlon.
I'm glad you got a phone call from Lee Rogers. I didn't get one. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Just curious-
Councilwoman Rosenetti.
just curious, not really. Just refresh my memory, was it last year or the year before when there was a 3% raise and then there was also an set amount salary? Can you remind me, Lee, how that worked last year? Or the last year?
Councilwoman Rosenetti,
About it.
forgive me. Could we get the microphone, please? I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear you well. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, last year we went from 7 hours a day to 8 hours a day. And due to that, it increased our overall salary for the year. And we did a 3% raise as well. I should mention CSEA is receiving 3% this year. And the clerk and deputy clerk positions are two of the only positions in City Hall that worked all the way through COVID and did not receive any additional ARPA funds or anything like that for hazard pay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Is there a motion that's going to be made to retract 1% from the 3% or some other percentage that was already moved?
I make a motion to put the raise at 2% as opposed to 3%.
Do I hear a second? Is there a second?
I won't second it, but I will have to say I'm a little reluctant. I just wish that we had a little more conversation regarding this, but I won't second.
Is there a second? Seeing none, we move forward. There's no second. Let's stand. Any other discussion? She did not second. Any other discussion?
I'll make a comment. Can I make a comment?
President Strong.
I'll take responsibility for not, we should have put it through the employees committee and up to the thing, so I'll take responsibility for that. I apologize. We did not do that, so I just wanted to make that, hopefully next year we can move it through a different channel if it's with a better discussion point. So I'll take responsibility for that and apologize for that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to pass pages 14, 24 as amended and page 25.
Councilman Scripty, use it as amended. My numbers are off like 9 cents. I got to get it correct. Okay, but it's in the same ballpark.
Can we get those final numbers? If you need a few minutes, that's
We're
completely
working
fine.
at it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's okay.
I think it may be appropriate also to make a motion to accept page 74 as.
Correct. Yes, you're right about that.
I'll make
So-
a motion to accept page 74 as amended.
So just for the record, pages 24 and 74 have been amended. So just for purposes of consistency, if we can wait from the comptroller until we get those numbers.
Yeah.
And then we'll get that into the record and I'll entertain that motion at that time. For this moment, I'm going to hold off. To keep moving forward at this point, I will open page 66, animal control. Any discussion?
Animal control is nearly identical as last year.
Mr. Clerk, equipment is. So what we're proposing is. Money or not?
We did reduce the equipment line by a little bit. He had some larger equipment that he needed to buy, and now that it's already purchased, we should be good.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? That being said, seeing no other discussion, I will open pages 222 and 223, which is the city fee schedule. No, just to open a page, I can do that solely.
Okay. So with the fee schedule, we did try to streamline a lot of our late fees. They were kind of all over the place and now they're $15 flat for late fees for everything now. And we did remove a few, I'll call them defunct fees that we don't really administer anymore. For example, cassette tapes, we don't give those out anymore. That sort of thing.
Not a demand for cassette tapes, evidently. Mr. Clerk, were any of these at least somewhat relevant that were just kind of aggregated into any other category, just to get that out on the floor?
Some of them are very similar. For example, the pawnbroker permit.
Zoning book, zoning map, that's just stuff you can get high level detailed PDFs online. Correct. Broome County GIS. Okay. Any other discussion on this? Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you. In terms of the late fees, are you responsible for following up on the timeline and ensuring that the appropriate, who actually cites people for being late and then follows up on the fees associated?
So we do electrician licenses and plumber licenses and dog licenses. Those are, you would incur a late fee if we sent you a renewal notice, because those are renewed yearly. And if you were, if it's due on September 1st and it's September 5th.
Well, let me clarify. So if there's somebody that's having a block party, that's a one-off. And there's a late fee for the block party permit.
Correct.
So if the party is over,
So the block party permit, we require those come in 30 days at a time.
okay, so if they
It's where
request
the
it,
application is made late, not so much. when-
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Chuck, any updates on?
Yep. If you go back to page 24.
Yep.
You're gonna want to modify the city clerk wage from $63,005 to $64,895.15. And the deputy city clerk from $53,389 to $54,990.67. And that money is coming from contingency, which I believe is A 1990.
Page 70. Oh, contingency. You mean?
The total amount is $3,491.82.
Right. Now, of course, so we've already amended it for the 3%. We would only call on motions for this if we were to take it down to 2%.
If that's what you did. Brian, did they amend it?
No, we did. No, we didn't. We didn't. There was a motion made. There was no second.
I know.
There
when
was
I
a
made the
motion for the 2%. I think that what they're talking about, there was not a second on 2%.
Yeah.
Now there would be a motion on 3%. And Chuck just gave you the numbers, for what that would be.
Well,
We
also-
already did that.
yeah,
Okay. never mind.
but when I made the motion, it was, right, it was at 18 cents difference. So I made a motion for $3,492, not $3,491.82. So I think if we were to amend it to those numbers, if I'm correct, we would only be amending it by 18 cents, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
So moving 18
Right.
cents out of that line into contingency.
Yeah.
And then we got to
Okay.
take that money and then move.
We've moved $3,492 out of the street lighting to contingency.
$3,492.
and we did move it into the personal services.
We
didn't
did, yeah.
So
But
we
now you have
need
to
move-
allocate it between the two positions.
Okay, yeah. we got-
So,
Correct.
I'll make a motion to move 18 cents, LOL, out of the personal services line, bless you, on page 24, budget line A 1410.510000 into contingency.
Again,
Motion by Councilwoman Freeman, second by Councilwoman Riley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes. -1. Councilman Scanlon. At this time, I will entertain a motion to move 18 cents from contingency back to the street lighting line on page 74.
We already did that.
Just leave it. in
You're just gonna leave it in contingency? It's 18 cents. That's fine. Leave it in
It's a
contingency.
slush fund.
That's like
That-
maybe
that's-
a slush fund.
18 cents with no interest. All right. So again, can we just get one final verbal breakdown for the city clerk salary and the deputy city clerk salary of what that is as amended, please?
$64,895.15 for the city clerk, deputy city clerk, $54,990.67.
Thank you, Lori and Chuck. Any other discussion on anything? That, anything at all? At That being said, I will entertain a motion to accept page 14, page 24 as amended, page 25, page 31, page 66, page 74 as amended, page 222, and page 223.
I move that we accept pages 14, 24 as amended, 25, 31, 66, page 74 as amended, and pages 222 to 223.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Motion by Councilwoman Riley, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Nay. Passes -1, Councilman Scanlon. Thank you. At this time, we will move to the finance portion of the budget. At this time, I will open pages 17 and 18. Any discussion?
The only real changes on here was RL's this year is increasing the assistant comptroller's position dollar wise, so that it equals the purchasing agent's salary. Everything else in the salary lane is based on contracts. And I currently have a staff account that's been vacant since May.
Any discussion, pages 17 and 18? Any discussion? Councilwoman Friedman.
thank you, Councilman Scaringi. Okay, so I know you said a lot of this has to do with contracts. Is that specifically about the personnel services?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the temporary services line has decreased significantly. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yes, I mean, retirees and people leaving, I didn't budget any for last year. Actually, we did budget 1,000. It was a lady that retired that agreed to come back and help train some of the people in my department.
Okay,
I will say this right now, I didn't budget for this, but as I'm thinking about it, I probably should have budgeted something. Okay, because I'm just afraid I don't have any extra people in my department. And if I have an AP person that takes off for a week vacation, that's gonna put burden on another person to do that. But I will see what I can do with it.
okay. And there was the furniture budget line also decreased. Well, so we budgeted in 2022, we budgeted $6,100, but ended up adjusting it to 18,000, and now we're budgeting 6,100
Yes,
again.
years ago, we used to have every department had $1,000 or $2,000 worth of furniture. We took that away from everybody, put it in my budget. This year, the assessor's office wanted to, let's just say, there used to be wooden shelves that you'd have to climb up on a ladder to get to the top to pull files down. She wanted
Yeah, I
to
saw
knock those
those.
down for a safety thing and put in filing cabinets. That's what the 18,000 was mostly to get her office all orderly condition.
Okay, and so that now the furniture line is being separated by department
No,
again?
it's just a 6,100. That
I see.
18,000 or 15,000 that we spent is almost all spent on those cabinets.
Okay, I see. But you said, the first thing that you said was it used to be,
In the past.
In the
okay,
past,
Prior to me
okay.
coming on board in the city, every department had $1,000 or $2,000.
oh, so this is like.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll open pages 23, 45, 70, 75, 76, and 96. We'll move incrementally. We'll go to page 23. Any discussion?
This is $25,000 that we budget to purchase properties that come up in the city, mostly through the county auction or pre-auction.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Councilman Scaringi. So this is, I bring this up recognizing that this might be a larger discussion than just a budget line item, but I know that, there are, in my opinion, problems with, the auction system, and I think a lot of properties end up falling through the cracks with, that belong to the city or the county and kind of fall into disrepair. So 25,000 is not that much money, and I don't know how many properties that goes toward, but if it's a lot of properties, then that's, not that much that we're spending per property, and based on some of the properties that are sold at these auctions, I mean, they're like just really in horrible condition. And so I'm wondering what, I guess what kind of vetting process or, what kind of accountability, I guess, would go into making sure that that the city purchases property that doesn't then just kind of like fall into disrepair and then get scooped up by slumlords.
I think any property that the city buys, okay, is.
It's
there's a
usually
game-
for
there's a game
demolition
plan for it. Well,
purposes, isn't it?
Demolition,
Yeah.
okay, but it could also be for possibly a city
Right,
rise
yeah.
grant or something of that nature. And all the properties that we look at are really strategic properties, is the way I would say. The mayor and his staff looks at it.
So, is it fair to say that the properties that the city purchases will all have some kind of plan for,
I can't speak for all of them, but I think majority of them, yes.
okay,
Any other discussion? Any discussion on page 45? Unallocated insurance. Any discussion on page 45?
This is the same thing as the other one.
Right.
It's related to the insurance fund. They all went up because of that.
Page 70 is a zeroed out line.
You skip 96.
I think probably has a question on that one.
why is
Page,
there no money? No, I'm just kidding.
page 75, any discussion? It is a zeroed out line. Page 76 is a zeroed out line. Page 96.
These are all
is-
lines that were set up with ARPA funds that have been encumbered and in the process of being spent.
Right. Electricity, power and electric. Any discussion?
Which page are you in? 96?
Yes, sir.
This is for the cogen for lamp,
Correct.
to maintain it. Basically, that's the electricity cost to keep the place heated so it doesn't freeze up and have
Right.
problems.
Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to accept pages 17, 18, 23, 45, 70, 75, 76, and 96. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to move pages 17, 18, 23, 45, 96, 70, 75.
Motion by Councilwoman Rosetti. Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That is unanimously. Colleagues, just as a gentle reminder, if I entertain a motion, all you have to do is say so moved and you don't have to repeat it. At this point, I will open pages 219 and 220.
What I have in this one is the cost of
Right. And this is the capital improvement again. So we're looking again at the finance
right, we have
department.
finance or fiscal advisor fees for bonding and stuff that we have to pay each year.
Right.
Those are from mine, and there's also 60,000 in here to go to the Maravito Stadium each year.
Right.
Actually, it goes to Bura, who then the stadium is based off of our lease agreement.
Any other discussions on pages 219 or 220, the finance sections? Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Councilman Scringy. I'm sorry if I just missed this, but Councilwoman Riley and I were discussing something, but can you, I don't know if you mentioned why this funding for the fiscal agent fees is coming from the water fund and the parking ramps fund? It just seems a
Because
little
when
random.
I bond by the different funds, whether it's, when I bond for the different funds, whether it's water fund, sewer fund, general fund, refuse fund, and they all pay their fair share.
Okay, and that's directly related to the fiscal agent fees, or it's just,
Yes.
okay,
So like when I do a bond or a ban, okay, if it's $1 million, if 50% of it is coming from the general fund, then they pay 50% of those fees.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You can almost think of it as like a brokerage fee almost.
I didn't hear you.
You can almost think of it as like a brokerage fee almost, like in a pseudo sort of way. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to accept the finance department sections of pages 219 and 220.
So moved.
President Strawn, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Lori. At this point, we will move to the next portion. I'll go in ordinal order here.
I don't believe we have any callback pages. Do
No callback pages at this time. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Chuck. This time I will open pages 111, 112, 113, and 6.
111 is all that we're obligated to make payments on.
Any discussion? 111, 112, or 113?
Yearly short-term bonds.
Chuck and Lori, forgive me, page 6, that's just the kind of a summary page of the debt service. Is that correct, Lori? Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. Any discussions on page 111, 112, or 113? Seeing none, I'll separate it out as it's a summary page. I'll entertain a motion to accept pages 111, 112, and 113.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Strawn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, it passes unanimously. I'll now entertain a motion to accept page 6. Please keep in mind that page 6 is just a summary page of 3 pages we approved.
It's a motion to accept.
Motion by Councilwoman Freeman. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Rezanetti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this time, I will open pages 219, 220, 205, and 206. We'll move forward incrementally.
Did you do
Incrementally.
page 113?
Yeah, 111, 112, 113. Yep. All good. 219 and 220. So we're looking at capital improvements on page 219 and 220. Any discussion?
You basically approved all of these as we go.
Now we're approving it as a whole then, right?
Right.
In essence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we're coming up now. Yep. Any other discussion on pages 219 and 220? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve pages 219, 220.
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Riley. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Any discussion on pages 205 and 206?
Basically, 205 and 206 is coming from 219 and 220, just putting account numbers on it or.
Thank you again for the reminder. So again, these are just pages and these are summary pages considered of 219 and 220. So considering that, motion to accept pages 205 and 206. Motion by Councilwoman Rezanetti.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this point, I will open page 114. 114. 114 is transfer to capital fund. Lori or Chuck, do you have anything that you would like to add, please?
You've approved all these as we gone.
This is
throughout.
just a summary in anyway, but I didn't. Motion will accept page 114.
So moved.
Motion by President Strawn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this point, I will open pages 102 through 110. 102 through 110. Starting on page 102. Any discussion? Just for the record, 102 is state retirement. 103 is police and fire retirement. 104 is social security. 105 is workman's comp. 106 is unemployment insurance. 107 is disability insurance. 108 is health insurance. 109 is supply and benefits. 110 is other employee benefits. Largely from what I can tell, 102 through 107 are not really things that can be changed that much. Those are estimations on what we will pay in those deductions for the upcoming fiscal year.
All of these are based off of the wages that we approved going through the budget, with the exception of page 109. Those are for some disabled firefighters that we're obligated to pay.
Right. So essentially, for all intents and purposes, there's really nothing about 102 through 110 that is really.
And on page 110, I do have a negative $100,000 in the labor adjustments of short that we expect during the year. I have unfilled positions. It's $100,000 that we have on page 110 of what we anticipate is unfilled positions during the year.
Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you again, Councilmember Scaringi. So the ARPA lines that we see here that are from 2022 are based upon the approvals we passed for COVID pay and the like, and it's just been divvied up.
Didn't quite hear everything you said, but what I made out of it is that everything that you see on here that has F0015 and there's nothing in there for a 23 budget is stuff that you've already approved.
Correct, but I don't remember us, so for example, if we passed so much money for the police department, then you had to divvy it between retirement and,
Yes,
okay, so that's why we're seeing this numbers that don't look like what we approved, because it had to be broken up based upon,
correct.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve pages 102 through 110. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by Councilwoman Rossetti. All those in favor signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this point, I will open pages 7 through 13. General fund. Any discussions? Any discussion?
The one big item on seven.
Go ahead, Chuck.
The one large item here is the sales tax, where
Yep.
last year we budgeted 13 million. I have it budgeted at 14.5. Last year we did receive 14.3 through the end of the year. And this year we're on schedule to get closer to 15 million, but I try to always be conservative on those numbers.
Very much agreed. Thank you, Chuck. And Lord. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Councilman Scaringi. Okay, so I'm looking at the pilots on page 7, and so I'm seeing that this revenue line is decreasing. Do you know off the top of your head which pilot is no longer included?
There's been, and I don't know the numbers, and Brian, you may be able to help me. There's some pilots that have renegotiate it or they want it to come off and when on the taxes. I think Shenango Place is one of them.
I think
Is
it
that
may have
a-
been Shenango Places that one of them that wanted to withdraw from the pilot to go back to paying taxes. See, like three of them that have almost exact same names. It gets confusing for me. There was one entity that wanted to withdraw from its pilot and go back to paying taxes.
And you don't remember which one off the top of your
It may
head?
have been Shenango Place or
Okay.
It was Shenango something.
It was Shenango something. There's like three of them that have shit.
Is that the official name? Shenango something? No,
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Can't be more specific.
you're right. No, okay, that's
If you want me to
fine.
get the answer for you tomorrow,
Okay, no,
send
I'm
an email
just,
and I'll get it for you, but I can't remember right off the top of my head.
I'll speak up on this one because it frustrates me that these individuals go on pilots. Okay. And part of that pilot is that there may be a 2% increase every year. Well, the city has not increased taxes for 8 years or 7 years. So they feel like their pilot has gone up higher than taxes are and they feel it's not a good deal. Okay, so to me-
Also, we've started incorporating in our pilots when we draft them a clause that prohibits them from challenging what their assessed value is. And some of them want to get out of it, so they're going to challenge their assessed value to try to get it reduced down and pay taxes at a lesser rate than their pilot.
okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Councilman Scringy. I have one last question on this page, which is the very last item that says other tax items, re-levy of prior year exempt property. So a tax exempt property is not necessarily a pilot.
what this is, at the end of the year, we roll water and sewer bills over to taxes. Okay, and we charge them a fee for that. That's what this is.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You charge a fee, but for doing what?
There's $100 fee when your water or sewer bill gets rolled to your taxes.
Oh,
There's $100 fee for that, and this is the revenue that comes.
Actually, Lori, correct me, this isn't the line that goes on that. Okay, this is a line that if people buy a house and the exemptions change, okay, this is where it gets. Example being.
If someone purchased a property that the prior owner had an old age exemption or a veterans exemption, their next tax bill would still have that exemption on it, depending on when they purchased it. We then recoup that money for the exemption they got benefit of that they shouldn't have. And that's what this revenue line is for.
okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept pages 7 through 13.
Wait, I'm sorry, I have another question.
Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. And I know it's late, but I think it's important to be
No, good.
thorough.
Good.
And also maybe, that's why we need a raise, but, okay. I am wondering, so I'm looking on page 8 at the ambulance charges. Who is that a charge to? Is that the like individuals or an insurance company?
Mostly insurance companies and mostly Medicare. Okay, but if a resident, let's just say that my mother ended up having to go on an ambulance and she has Medicare Advantage plan, they will bill her plan. Let's just say that that plan pays $300. The charge is $600. A city resident is not forced to pay that additional $300. Okay, if you're outside the city, you live outside the city, we do go after those individuals.
Okay,
And it's same if they don't have insurance and they live in the city of Binghamton, we don't force them.
right. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? This time I'll entertain a motion to accept pages 7 through 13.
I'm sorry, I'm going through, I am going through my notes here.
Go ahead.
Eat some more nuts.
This is why I didn't want to do this in 3 days, 'cause- okay, okay, I'm on page 9 right now, looking at the vacant property registration and the foreclosed property registration. How is that enforced?
I'm in court about it almost every Wednesday. Vacant property fees, vacant property registration gets enforced through city court. These are the fees for vacant property registration.
Yes, that's what it is. The 70,000 is,
Yes.
okay?
And if they fail to register, they get brought to court and you prosecute.
Okay, so theoretically, this is a voluntary registration.
No, not the
Here-
vacant properties, no. Vacant properties, not. You can be compelled. You'll get a notice of violation. You don't pay it. You don't register it. We'll bring you to court.
Right,
If we
okay.
can find. it.
Well, I mean, voluntary is in like, again, ideally, people would just do this of their own volition, but if they don't, then they might
Yep.
be prosecuted.
No, you would ask how it was enforced. That's.
Okay.
that's-
But it's no different than anything else city charter. I mean, technically speaking, you can voluntarily pay your property taxes.
Right.
You know, it's, you know.
Yeah.
Was there any other discussion items, Councilwoman Freeman?
Councilman Freeman and all council, just to add something to this, you see another line out here, foreclosed property registration. And I can't speak fully about it because the mayor gave me a little bit of what it is, but he's hiring a firm that is going to work with banks who have foreclosed on a property or they haven't foreclosed on it. And this is fees that they will go after the banks that get.
That's great.
Okay, and
That's
I
great.
think it's a question, you might want to ask the mayor about, he could speak a lot more about it. He's the one that's had the conversations with the firm and things of that nature.
That's
But
a
it's
great
been very
idea.
successful in other parts of
Yeah.
the state.
No, absolutely. Because the foreclosed properties that the banks own, those are bureaucratically, those are the most difficult ones to get through. Absolutely, without a doubt. So that's a great idea. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. I think this is my last question. Page 11 is opened, correct?
7 through 13, that is correct.
Okay, I think this is my last question. So the interfund revenues line on page 11, I'm just, in terms of the way that this is accounted for, would this not then cancel out? Like, these are revenues, but they would be deducted from other budget lines. Is that correct?
I'll give you an example. The first one, accounting services.
Uh-huh.
We're getting $163,000 into the general fund from either the refuse fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, the parking fund, whoever's. Okay, this one happens to be coming from water and sewer.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Councilman Scringy, let me just make sure that everyone's aware of this, okay?
Go ahead.
On page 12,
Yep.
you see the federal aid other, okay? That is the ARPA money that we have budgeted in this year's budget to use next year for the different things that you've approved, okay? The one thing that is in here that's different that you have not approved is out of the police grant, that there's $53,000. If we get that grant, ARPA funds will be used to offset the additional cost. And I can't remember what the total cost was, or what was the total? Yeah.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question to that. You said ARPA money would be used to offset the cost of the grant that we would be
No, the
awarded?
additional
No.
cost. Let's just say that a new police officer in the grant costs 100,000 and the grant's paying 75. ARPA funds will pay the $25,000 makeup difference.
Oh, okay. And that's the grant that we just approved the application for?
Yes, that we will approve an application. to apply
Right,
for
or
grant.
to authorize an application, right? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing
Councilman
none,
Scringy, let me just say, if we do not get the grant, none of that will get used. Okay, only if we get the grant.
Councilwoman Riley.
And again, we approve these as premium pay with benefits in the ARPA line when we approved the chunk of money that's now being divided amongst the the lines.
What's, if you look at that line 12, it says salary and benefits for code prosecutor. Okay, you approved earlier this year to bring in a code prosecutor. Okay, for X number of years. I think it was for 3 years. Okay, that's 106,000 is the salaries and benefits associated with that person, and that's being paid through ARPA.
Any other discussion?
Right. My question though is then we should have a line item on the new ARPA budget to match this total
It
expenditure.
is not on that report yet because that's only what's been approved.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Once
that's
you
pending
approve
the approval
everything-
of the grant itself, right?
No, not the grant. It's other
When you
funds in
approve
there
this budget, those line items will be added.
with the grant
Yes,
also.
yes.
Thank
right.
you. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve pages 7 through 13.
So move.
Councilman Scanlon, do I hear a second? Councilwoman Resonetti, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this time, I will open page 47. Any discussion on page 47?
47 needs to be approved as amended.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve page 47 contingency as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Resonetti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously. At this time, I will open pages 2 through 5. 2 through 5. Any discussion on pages 2 through 5? Incrementally, we will go pages 2 through 4 first, as page 5 is a general fund summary.
So on page 2, you can see the homestead and non-homestead city rates decreasing very minimally, but going down.
Any discussion? Pages 2 through 5. Lastly, any discussion? Pages 2 through 5. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve pages 2 through 5.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Scanlon. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Resonetti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Page 2 through 5 has been approved. At this time, I will open pages 214 through 222, Appendix C, the city fee schedule. Appendix C, pages 214 through 222. Any discussion? Councilwoman Ryan.
Lori is giving us some new page numbers, but before she gives us that, I just wanted to clarify for those of you that we received a document with all of the salaries again. So I pointed to the wrong document, but this document that we have does align with what we saw in our budget, just in case you were concerned. Councilman Scanlon, thank you.
I trust Mr. Shager. Thank you.
Lori and Chuck, was there anything you wanted to add? My apologies.
The fees are on pages 221 through 230.
Pages, thank you for that. I will pull back what I said earlier. Thank you for the correction, Lori. I will open the city fee schedule, pages 221 through 230. 221 through 230. Any discussion? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve Appendix C on pages 221 through 230?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by President Strawn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes unanimously.
I believe, Councilman Scringy, we have to approve the budget as a whole here.
As
right?
amended.
Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed fiscal year 2023 City of Binghamton budget as amended?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded
a-
by,
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
yes.
Okay. So we're approving, and I know I've done this before, and so I apologize, but we're approving the budget, but then later voting on it.
Are
So
you-
it's.
I'm sorry, is it a logistical question you're asking
Yes.
procedurally? Okay,
Yes.
so what's happening now is we've gone through each page, we've gone through each section.
Mhm.
Now this proposed budget as amended needs to be accepted in toto. So that way it can go to a public discussion and then we vote on it at that point.
Okay. Thank you for
There's a
clarifying.
motion by Councilman Scanlon to accept the proposed 2023 proposed budget as amended. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Resonetti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? It has been passed unanimously. Thank you to my colleagues. Thank you to the city clerk's office. Thank you to Mayor Cram. Thank you to Corp Council. Thank you to Janine. Thank you invaluably to Lori and to Chuck and to all of the department heads who put time into it. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilwoman Morale, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. We are adjourned.